Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And I love that this is the Easter long weekend, and I hope that for anyone who is celebrating Easter or Chocolate Day, as we call it in my home, that you get to spend it with family, friends, and you get to enjoy the day as much as you practically can, and that it's nice and relaxing for you. With all of that in mind, I, with my boyfriend, have escaped down to Malure Bay for a change of scenery, and I also wanted to show you that I've got my Dewdrop Daisy hanging up on the wall here. So it's hanging up in the wall of the bedroom that we stay in when we're down here, and I love that from this particular angle it is looking absolutely awesome. I am super proud of it. And for new people who are here, new here to this channel, Dewdrop Daisy is my own design for hot cross stitching, and it is based on a photo that I took of a flower in my garden, and I had finished it at the end of last year, and it was stitched on 28 count linen, stitched 2/2, and I had purchased a frame for it that was custom made because it was a bit of an odd size for some of the traditional frames that I could get from any kind of retail store. So the aim with framing this piece up as well is to, or was to rather, enter it into the 2025 Canberra Royal Show. And it didn't win any prizes, but I'm super proud of myself for entering it into the show because I've never entered anything crafty into the Canberra show. Many years ago, when I was in high school by memory, I think it might have been year 10 or year 9, but I have a feeling it was year 10. I don't remember the exact years. Anyway, it was high school. A friend and I, we were in a cooking class and we made tomato relish and entered it into the Canberra show. And it was entered in under my friend's name, and we won third prize, which was pretty cool. Personally, I don't like tomatoes, let alone relish of any kind, so it blew my mind that we won because I didn't taste it. I had no idea what it was meant to taste like or anything like that, but the judges liked it, so that was pretty cool. Anyway, the fact that I've got this up on the wall of Dewdrop Daisy I think is pretty cool. If anyone is interested in stitching it, there is a physical and digital chart available for purchase on the Hot Cross Stitching website, and I'll put all the details in the description box below. Now, enough of that kind of rambling. What we're here for today is catching up on all of my stitching progress since we last caught up, and I'm really keen to share with you the experiences that I had at the recent Downton Abbey stitching retreat that was hosted by the Black Needle Society. So let's get into it. So last weekend, I got to participate in the Downton Abbey stitching retreat that was hosted by the Black Needle Society, and maybe it was 2 weeks. No, definitely last week. My timing of who's what, when, where, why is completely out of balance because yesterday was Good Friday. Today is Saturday, the 19th of April, and I've been awake earlier than I would like, but that's beside the point. It was definitely last weekend, and it was fantastic to catch up with people that I've met through the other retreats, such as the Winter and Stars Hollow Stitching Retreat that had been hosted by the Black Needle Society. And I've also been able to meet some people that I'd not met before and catch up with people who I have met at other stitching retreats and all the rest. So it was just fantastic just to see people again and meet new friends as well. And it was absolutely awesome. I would have liked to have been able to spend a bit more time online, catching up with people, meeting new people, and all the jazz that goes with it. International timelines and time zones weren't my friend in this case, but that's okay. The fact that I got to participate in the bits that I could was all that mattered, really. The way the Black Needle Society set up the Downton Abbey stitching retreat was very similar to what we experienced with the Four Seasons of the Gilmore Girls stitching retreat, in the sense that it was really casual, laid back. We did have stitching hours of power that were focus sessions where it was just an hour of stitching, and we had special prompts for each hour that were based on seasons 1 and 2 of the Downton Abbey TV series, and that was pretty cool. I was able to meet most prompts, and the stitching that I'm about to share with you was some of those stitching prompts. I did need to do, I think, for one stitching session, a penalty stitching, which meant that the piece that I worked on didn't meet the prompt for that particular hour because I either didn't have anything in my stash that I'd already started that could fit within that particular prompt, and I didn't want to purchase anything just for that specific item or particular hour. And what that meant also is if I was being serious about the stitching for each hour where we had a stitching challenge, if my piece met that particular stitching challenge based on the prompt, for every 25 stitches I would get a point. And so let's say, for example, with the Grinch that I'm about to share with you, it fitted a couple of the prompts for this stitching weekend. And so with one of the hours, I was able to get 220 stitches done in that hour, and they were full crosses as well, not 10 stitch or anything. I'm really proud of that PB because I tend to average 120, maybe 180 or so stitches per hour, depending on what area of a piece I'm working on. And I'm super proud of that particular effort. And it meant that because that piece meant that challenge for that hour, I got to divide 220 by 25, and that resulting number was the number of points that I earned for that hour. All of the points go towards the possibility of winning prizes and that kind of thing. And the idea of winning prizes is pretty cool. It's a nice little reward, but at the same time, for me, it's more about just being able to stitch and being able to catch up with people as well, or sometimes just doing the stitching and knowing that it's okay to not be talking because other people are focusing as well and they're wanting to stitch well and they're wanting to focus on the section that they're working on as well. So without further ado, let's get the cover page up for The Grinch Santa Claus. This is what I'm working on right now. The picture is, or the cross stitch is by Tom Stitch. That's Tom Stitch there. I got the pattern of a Tom Stitch Etsy store, and I've been commissioned to work on this piece for a friend, and I was working on it recently and did some calculations based on the numbers in Pattern Keeper, and I am at the stage where this is the as wide as the piece is going to be, and now I just need to start working my way down. If I keep working on it every day, and I have been, the aim though is to put a minimum of 440 stitches on it per day. If I can do that, I'll have this piece done by the 9th of August. I would love to be able to have it done by then, because that would totally signify roughly the date that I'd quoted for how long it would take me to get the piece finished, especially if I were to start, say, I think it was February, I'd fully kicked off and focused on it, or started to seriously focus on it. I had made a small start in December and then paused it because of whatever was happening around that time. That said, I've dropped the piece. I'm just going to grab it. That said, I have been able to get quite a lot done because I've been focusing on the block colours. The parts that will slow me down is when we've got some confetti stitching happening. So the confetti is very much around the spots where we see the lanterns or the baubles, and then also where we start to see this golden hoop or this golden ring that's helping to frame around the Grinch. There's a lot of confetti around there as well, but that's okay because the confetti at times helps to give the depth and detail that a full coverage piece needs sometimes. I'm looking forward to working my way down and getting past the fluffy trim that will be at the hat and actually starting to work on the Grinch's face. That to me is going to be a lot of fun. And I love that I'm going to be able to have that balance of working on the Grinch's face and then also working on some of the finer details that we see in the background as well. It's all going to be a lot of fun. And when I did my PB of the stitching with the Grinch, I was working on a red section of his hat, and I'm just super proud of myself with getting the 220 in. And I also found when working on the stitching challenges that using Pattern Keeper for me made the world of difference, because I was able to relax and just solely focus on what I was working on, and knowing that Pattern Keeper was keeping track of those stitches for me. Now, the next piece that I worked on during the retreat was a little bit of a piece that is a autumn leaves I've nicknamed, but it's officially called Autumn Ivy on the Wall, and it is a hot cross stitching design. I'll just get the cover page up. Now, with Autumn Ivy on the Wall, this is available as a digital download or a physical chart, depending on your preference. And this is where we're at. I absolutely love the colours that we see in the leaves there, and this was taken on my phone when I was walking back from lunch. I had walked into Monica, I think it was Monica or Kingston, I think it was Monica. I was working on the south side of Canberra, and it was probably a 10-minute walk into Monica, 10-minute walk back. And the path that I took, it was autumn, and what I loved was just these leaves changing colour and this black marble, black tile that was a bit glossy as well. Having those leaves growing up in it as a vine, it looked really cool. Now, for all I know, it's probably not ivy. Ivy probably doesn't change colours or anything like that. Me and plant names, I'm not big on gardening. People can correct me as much as they want with plant names and all the rest. Sometimes it'll stick, sometimes it won't. We just got to roll with it. Now, this is where I'm at for the autumn ivy. Just got to get around the right way. And I'm stitching this on 28 count linen. I'm really struggling still with having the fabric showing through for the darker sections of this piece, yet when I'm doing the single stitches, the coverage is awesome. I am using DMC. In my last episode, again, I was grumbling a bit about my stitching a bit for this. I am aiming to go, when I get back home, up where I've got my stash, I'm aiming to go and grab some of my anchor thread and have a look through my stash for other blacks that I've got that are by other brands, just to see if it really is the DMC that I'm using or if it's more to do with my stitching. We'll wait and see. Hopefully all goes well. If nothing else, it is part of the fun and the challenge that we have with our stitching of experimenting a bit and figuring out what actually works or doesn't work. I've really only put maybe 120 stitches into this since we caught up because my focus has been on the Grinch Santa Claus. I am looking forward to finishing this piece off though, because if all works out well, I'd love to be able to enter this into the 2026 Canberra Royal Show. If it doesn't happen next year, that's totally okay. I could always aim for the 2027 Canberra Royal Show, and hopefully all will be good then. Now, the next piece that I did some work on was, what was it? It was Under the Sea by Lakeside Needlecraft, exclusively designed by Doreen Jones. Noting that this is a photocopy cover page, and I will work on getting a colour picture inserted. However, the other week I was feeling a bit under the weather after the stitching retreat that we had, so I needed to have a bit of me time on the Monday. And as part of that stitching, I was able to get the full width of the piece stitched across. And I feel like I can now relax because I do have some extra fabric on the side. So I know that I'm not going to have any issues with the framing when this piece is done. And this particular piece met at least two stitching prompts for the Downton Abbey stitching retreat. The first prompt was to do with something about sea creatures or under the sea or something very similar to that. And then the other prompt was to stitch on something that has a man or a boy in it. And we've got a scuba diver in here, and at the moment where we see some of the orange parts of the under the sea, we can start to see a bit of a fin in terms of flippers rather. So if you're scuba diving or if you're snorkeling or something, you've got flippers on your feet. That's what I started working on. I am stitching this on 28 count even weave. It is an opalescent called Tropical Ocean, and it has been hand dyed by Paddock Lane Designs. As a bit of a tidbit, I did get to catch up with Lisa, who is the Paddock Lane Designs person who had dyed the fabric. I embarrassed myself quite well during the retreat by gushing way too much when I got to catch up with Lisa in one of the stitching rooms, where even though on social media, when I posted some pictures about the fabric and progress and such on Instagram, even though I'd said I'm loving the fabric and that it's fantastic to stitch on and such, I went a bit overboard with how much I was showing appreciation. It is part of neurospicy that I have that I am working on getting diagnosed just to properly confirm that that really is my brain rather than any other weird quirks that I have. Anyway, I do very much enjoy working on Under the Sea, and it is a lot of fun to work on. Again, that is another piece that I would love to be able to have finished by the end of this calendar year, if not early January next year, because my aim for stitching Under the Sea is to have it ready and entered into the 2026 Canberra Royal Show because of a specific theme that the show has for next year. Fingers crossed, all goes well. I don't remember how many stitches I put into Under the Sea for the stitching challenges based on what I was mentioning before about how many stitches on average I get done during an hour. I think in total it could have been 200 and something or other stitches I put into it. It was a lot of fun. Counting on a paper pattern though, it brought back some good memories. Okay. The next piece that I have to share with you that I got to work on was the retreat piece. So in the retreat box that had been curated by the Black Needle Society, this was the chart that came with it, and it's called I Am a Custodian, and it is based on a quote that is said by one of the lead actors, where it was a discussion about the house and the land that is owned by the people who live at Downton Abbey, and the father had said that they don't actually own, he doesn't think that they own the land, rather they are custodians of the house and the land by which the house has been built on, and that it's up to them to actually take care of the land and the people who are residing on the big farmlands and such. And I'm doing a horrible job of describing what it was all about. I'm pretty much paraphrasing. If you have watched Downton Abbey, especially the first season or so, you'll hopefully remember that conversation that I'm trying to paraphrase here. So without further ado, this is roughly where I'm at, noting that I do have a hoop in the way. I am stitching this on 32 count fabric that I had purchased from Paddock Lane Designs. It's been marked as a missed dye, so there was a few things that might have happened during the dyeing process. That said, this fabric is still a joy of fun, lots of fun to stitch on, and I love the colours that are in this fabric, and any quirks that are in the fabric I think enhance this particular piece that I'm working on. I have no particular time frame or deadline to get this finished by. I am stitching this 2/2 using all of the called for colours in the chart. And last but not least, I have resurrected a pattern that or chart that I had been working on, almost fully focused on at the start of this year, if not towards the end of last year as well. And it was a piece that I had designed for the Great Aussie Shindig that was hosted at the start of this year around the Australia Day long weekend. And I can't quite remember the prompt for this particular piece for why I worked on it during the Downton Abbey stitching retreat. However, it brought back a lot of really good memories for this piece I'm about to show you, and I really would love to get this piece finished sometime this year, if not next year. It is a full coverage mini, and I'm just trying to find the cover page for it to share with you. Okay, so it's called Bachelor and Spinster Ball Mini. Okay, so the images that we see in this particular piece that sort of make it the way that it is are all images that I had brought together via the use of Canva. If you go and check out the website Canva, you'll get an idea of what I mean. I'm not affiliated with it in any way. I'm not getting any benefits out of talking about Canva, but I just want to acknowledge that that's where a lot of the images came from that I then assembled and shaped in a way that matched as closely as I could try and get it to the image that I have in my mind. And the inspiration for B&S Ball, or Bachelor and Spinster Ball Mini, is based on a very Aussie thing that happens in rural Australia. And it was especially my brother who I had in mind when I designed this particular piece. Mostly because in my brother's early 20s, if not late teens, he and his mates, especially when they were single, would take off to the country towns when there were the BNS balls, noting that these BNS balls still occur. And the aim is for young country people to get together, let their hair down, have a bit of fun, enjoy the music of bands that are playing there, and in some circumstances, people rock up in the utes of all different shapes and sizes, and just have fun. Ultimately, it can be a bit of a drunken fest where people do very much let their hair down, have a little bit too much to drink, but that's them. There is a lot of dancing and fun that happens. I've never attended one, but I have heard enough about them to get a really good image in my head of what they would be about. So that's a bit of the background story for this particular piece. And also, as another side note, before I share with you my progress on the BNS Ball Mini, with all of the pieces that are available as charts on the Hot Cross Stitching website, all of them have a background story. There's a reason for why they've been designed the way that they have, where a lot of the photos that I've converted over to cross stitch patterns, if there is a description behind it, there's a reason behind the way they are, or stories about how they came to be, and all the rest that goes with it. And especially when you get to purchase the chart, you'll actually get to read a bit of a paragraph about those charts and why they are the way they are. Anyway, let's stop rambling. Let's see the actual stitching. So I'm going to get this out of the hoop because I think it'll be easier for you to appreciate what it looks like at the moment and how big it's actually going to be when it's done, because sorry about that. So ultimately this is where I'm at. My apologies for a very crinkled fabric. I have made sure that there is enough fabric as edging as well, so I can frame this or finish it off in a way that I won't be playing fabric chicken in any capacity. I am stitching this 1/1 on the 25 easy grid fabric using DMC threads. This to me is a great combination of solid block stitching and a little bit of confetti stitching as well, to help again with the movement in the flag and the texture that goes with the round hay bales that we see in the picture, and then the different shades and tones of the greens of the leaves of the tree that we see poking across a part of the shearing shed or the barn, depending on which area of the world you're from. So this is where I'm at so far. When I was working on it, my focus had been specifically this little area here to get a lot of the stitching done. It's going to be really cool when I've got it finished. So that is pretty much it regarding stitching and all the jazz. I will, at the end of this episode, include a really short little clip on the wall hanging that we saw before. So the framed dewdrop daisy, I've got a close up and you can just scroll down through it. And one of the things that I got pinged for by the judges of the Canberra Royal Show, they did note that the way that I'd framed it, I shouldn't have any of the fabric showing through. And I had played fabric chicken when I was stitching that particular piece, and I made the mistake of not adding some extra fabric at the bottom of the piece when I was framing it, and it gives it a bit of a rustic look, and it's a piece that I'm hanging on to, and I can at least look at it and appreciate that it was the time and effort that went into it. I think it took about 4 years or so off and on of stitching. It has a little over 65,000 stitches in it. All of it is full cross. The other thing that I got pinged for with that particular piece is the solid stitching in terms of the tension that I had when I was stitching, but there was still a bit of fabric showing through, and I that's part of why I keep raving on about the autumn leaves and why I've got a bit of a problem with the black or the darker colours in that piece and the fabric showing through. It could also be the fabric that I'm stitching the piece on. Again, experimenting. I'll calm down with raving about it and we'll go from there. Anyway, I've got time off work now where we've got Easter Sunday tomorrow, and then with Easter Monday, it's a public holiday as well in Australia. And then I've got 3 days off between Easter and Anzac Day on Friday, the 25th of April. And my aim is to be able to get a lot of the stitching done on the Grinch Santa Claus. That way I can very much stick to what I was saying about getting the 440 stitches done. Yesterday was a bit of a write-off with getting any stitching done, and I did get maybe 100 stitches done if I was lucky on the Grinch, because we were travelling from Wollongong down to Malua Bay, and we knew that the traffic was going to be busy because everyone's travelling to different places because of the Easter break. We did stop off at Mollymook for lunch, and that was Mollymook and Mollymook slash Ulladulla are the halfway point for us. Mollymook and Ulladulla are suburbs in along that area, and it's a really good place for us to stop, stretch the legs, that kind of thing. It then takes us roughly an hour to get from Ulladulla down here to Malua Bay, and there were times when traffic annoyed me a bit, but I also had to remind myself that we've got double demerits happening at the moment, and it was probably a good thing that everyone was traveling just a little bit slower because we're all making sure that we're getting safely to our intended destinations. Everything worked out well. There wasn't any incidences along the way. It all worked out beautifully. We were all safe and sound. Everything's good. And we're here now at Little Bay, chilling out, relaxing. The weather at the moment is absolutely beautiful. It is a nice, comfortable temperature. The sun's out, we've got a little bit of cloud coverage. The water is a bit rough at the moment just because of how the swells are at the moment. Yesterday, when we were having lunch at Mollymook, the waves were about 3 to 4 meters high, yet there were some daredevils out in the water surfing and bodyboarding. Some of them were doing really well, like fully hats off to the people who were doing the surfing and doing the bodyboarding, because some of those waves were pretty high, and if things didn't quite go according to plan and you got dumped by the wave, it feels like you're in a washing machine. It's really uncomfortable, and hey, they were taking that risk. They were getting that adrenaline rush, and all the power to them. It was really nice being able to just watch the waves though, and be really impressed by them. The Some of the beaches that are around here that don't normally get a lot of waves or very big waves, they're getting some really big waves that have been quite impressive. With all of that in mind, I don't know how long the rough water will. So one of the benefits of using the software that I do for recording these floss tubes is that it cuts me off at 30 minutes without me fully realizing it. So that could be a good thing when it comes to me rambling and losing track of time. With all of that said, I don't know how long the wild surf is going to be around for. However, one of the things that I'm very much looking forward to is, I think starting Monday, we're going to start to get some rain that's going to be from roughly Monday through to Wednesday, and then the rain will start easing a bit Thursday, Friday. I love it when it rains. I absolutely love it because from a crafting perspective, I feel like it gives me the permission that I need to sit down and do my crafting, stitching, and relaxing and chilling out and not feeling obligated to get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather as much as I should be getting out there and making the most of the nice weather while it's nice and sunny and such. There are times when I'm just feeling tired. I just want to be in crafting and such. However, there is also those beautiful moments when it can be very sunny outside, but the wind might be cold, or there's some other elements going on outside that make it unpleasant for being out there. And I always have these fond memories of mum always wanting to seek out the sunny spots and soaking up the sun while she's chilling out, relaxing, doing whatever it is that she needs. And I've picked up on that a little bit as well. And there'll be times when I'm in Canberra and we've got the sun coming through, and I'll be standing where it's nice and sunny. And if I've got my bare feet as well, the floor will be nice and warm from that sun as well. It makes it pretty nice. So fingers crossed it does rain the amount that the Bureau of Meteorology is saying that we're potentially going to get here, because what I love also is the sound of the rain. Like if it is that really nice, steady rain, it's not really windy or anything like that. And sometimes there are those fat drops of rain as well. It's comforting for me, and I also liken it to growing up on the farm when we've gone through the times of drought, and it gets a bit stressful when not enough rain has fallen and the dams are going low and everything that goes with all of that. When it does rain, it's exciting, especially when it ends up raining a lot more than we thought that it would, because it gets to that really exciting stage of having the rivers, so to speak, running through the paddock where you see the flow of the water coming off the different hills and undulations of the land, flowing into the dams, and then also flowing into the creeks and everything else. Because sorry, I've had coffee. It just flushes things out. It's a way of refreshing the earth a bit as well, refreshing the atmosphere and such, and cleansing things. And for me, I have those fond memories of enjoying the rain and just standing out in the rain sometimes and just enjoying how that feels. And at times when we've brought the cattle in just to do whatever we've needed to do with them, being able to jump in the puddles as well, being very childlike as well. So those are the reasons why I just love the rain so much. And I really do hope we get the rain. And especially with this house, I love also hearing the water from the gutters and that flowing through in the downpipes and such. Croaky voice, my apologies. But hopefully enough with all of me going rah rah, getting all excited about the rain, the weather, and all the rest that's going on. Thank you so much for sticking around with me for this particular Flosstube episode. And I hope that if you are new to this episode, new to this channel, and you've not yet liked, subscribed, and all those fun things, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you're really keen and you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button as well, and ring that bell as well, because that will help you to get that notification for all new episodes that I upload from I guess now onwards and all the rest. So until next time, happy stitching, and I hope you all have a wonderful Easter. See you.